So from ABC to C Paramount Plus,
Right.
let's talk about
Yes.
season. Right, I got you.
Oh
Yeah,
god.
y'all will talk about the third and final season of Star Trek Picard. Reason being is because I only saw the first one. Kind of forgot about it afterwards.
Right.
Oh
But it was
boy.
cool talking to Ricardo about it and him just talking about all the issues he had with it. Speaking of Ricardo, you like famously ripped the second season to shreds.
Right. Deservedly
Um,
so. Still hold on to that position.
yeah.
Oh
But it was
boy.
really excited when the trailer for season 3 came out, right?
Right.
But I
Right.
still tell myself, let me hear your opinion first, and then you could. Well, I guess at the end of the day, sorry, the end of this review here, you could tell me if this series is worth it. 'Cause you know, I'm a man who will go back from season 1 and watch from the very beginning, right?
Right.
So,
Well,
season
here's
3. Oh, by the way, spoilers. Y'all could go into spoilers, right?
yeah.
So
No,
I'm
for
gonna
Okay.
let you
well,
shut up.
not too much spoilers, but yeah.
Sure.
We can talk about it.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the thing. This is one of those things that I had to say before we start. I kind of is what you call making your peace with it, right? Because Terry Matalas has the exact opposite problem I have with Alex Kurtzman, right? Terry Matalas is a goddamn fanboy, tough fault, right?
Hmm.
This season is straight up
Oh boy.
is Warcraft. You're
Oh.
too much of a fan, and it's a complete. This season is a complete ocean of largely unnecessary nostalgia sludge. With that said,
Mhm.
I still enjoyed it because,
All right.
especially the finale, the emotional beats landed, and it's member berries. They're straight up TNG member berries, but they were well crafted member berries.
Mhm.
With that said, Terry Matalas, too much of a fan, but he's basically Mike McMahon but for live action, in my humble opinion, right? And it really felt like Reddit writes Star Trek, but it was okay. Like I didn't hate any of it, especially the first 4 episodes. Episode 4 in particular is very good. Like I'll straight up enjoyed episode 4. I thought that was great. But then after episode 4, it started drip feeding the nonsense and started getting worse and worse. Not bad, but that's weaker than episode 4. And episode 5 was weaker than episode 4. 6 was weaker than 5. 7 was weaker, and so on and so forth. Until they get to 9, which was the low point. When the reveal was going on, because they finally reveal everything was going on with Jack and what the Changeling's plan is. Oh yeah, spoiler, Changeling's in this for some reason. And when they reveal everything, I was like, wow, this is real nostalgia sludge. Like, holy shit, dude. Like, you serious with this? Like, this is so Jesse most uncreative approach to this. But when they do the final episode, it really feels like a good send off. Like I can't be mad at any of this. And just my quick review, we'll go through, right? So as I say, Matala said the exact opposite problem I have with Kurtzman. It's straight up like it's like Mike McMahon, but for live action. Mike McMahon does the Lower Deck show, and the Lower Deck show is just a big fanboy show, even though I like it and I find it funny. Yeah, as I said, largely unnecessary nostalgia sludge. I would have preferred they do something different and more interesting. Spoilers: the Borg is in this, and I'm bothered at the almost outright erasure of the previous seasons. Like seriously, Matthew, you do not need to watch season 1 and 2. Just watch this.
Really?
Yes, seriously. They listen. It have big plot things that they just ignore. I was like, well, what happened to this character? And what happened to this?
There's 2 characters in particular. We'll talk about that. I was
Yeah,
like, okay,
God.
where did they disappear to?
Like, you would think they would be relevant to the plot, given that it's Borg, but whatever. But they do this small stuff, and spoilers again. Small stuff like the poker game or the opening graphic, and the Enterprise D shows up and Flyboy Data. All the shots look great. They do a nice, especially in the finale. The finale has a nice little memorial to Anton Yelchin because they call him because there's a character
nice.
called Anton Chekhov, and he's the son of Pavel Chekhov. Well,
Yeah, he's the president of the Earth.
he's the president of Earth, of the
yeah.
Federation. Like, all right, that's a nice little tease, right? It teases a new series, right? We possibly going to get a new show because, look, the one big highlight of this season was the guy who plays. Well, we thought he was going to be Picard's son, and yes, he was Picard's son, Jack Crusher. I thought that guy is great, and I want to see more of him, to be honest. Well, small spoiler for something. All I'll say is that if you know who it is, if you know, you know. I preferred if we saw Keegan instead of John. If you know, you know. That's all I'll say. I'm not spoiling that. I can't say I'm too conflicted because, as I said, I made my peace. I ain't mad at this. It works as a send-off. It is what it is. That is the finale. That is the most thing. Before we get to Tracy, I'm just gonna say a great overall context of the series, right? Look, this is a show, arguing with other people about the nature of the show. It really came across like I've been having this argument with my friends and other people throughout, like, for the last 15 years or so, where it's a debate of the art versus commerce debate, right? And yes, even though it's a false dichotomy, it is kind of costly to access that third option or hybrid as we speak. What I'm talking about is you want to do a legacy show, but you don't want to do too much member berries and nostalgia sludge. What you're going to do to square this? How to take the characters and then make it work for a new audience, because I don't want to fall on the pit that Metallus has fallen down. This is too much nostalgia crap. Sorry, but you don't want to do what Kurtzman did, which is this weird nonsense like storytelling. I call it in the square hole writing. If you know that reference, that is, remember, look up the TikTok in the square hole. That girl who's like, well, what the hell is this? Why is he writing it like this? Why it's so frustrating? That's what I call it. That is what the previous 2 seasons were like. It had a bunch of okay ideas. It clearly was leading to something, and it decided to not do it and basically create something way less satisfying. This season was the opposite. This is like clearly nerd shit, and they catering to the fans in all the worst ways. But look, people like the slop, so they eat it up. Nostalgia slop, nostalgia sludge. So my attitude about season 1 was it had a bunch of okay ideas that they fumbled. Rios was cool, Laris was cool, Seven was kind of cool. The Romulan and Xbox stuff was, the fallout from that was not a bad premise to hang the show on. I felt if they dialed back the Soong plot and the Reapers, Jatba stuff, it could have worked. And, if anything, the book that bridge narrative is what they should have done itself. So I call it good ingredients, bad recipe. For season 2, colossal waste of time, no pun intended, in my opinion. I really thought we were going to get some decent time travel jamboree with Cisco and the Gary 7 people and Temporal Starfleet, and maybe we could have gotten a property to sort out the Temporal Cold War, but we didn't get that. What we got was in the square hole writing. Just nonsense. And then for this, they just kind of seem to drop their hands and say, look, let's give them what they want. Everybody from TNG comes back and Worf comes back, and well, actually they do a good job with Worf and Raffi. I really like that. But I really felt what the show could have done instead is, in my humble opinion, they could have fleshed out what I thought was the more interesting things about Picard. And my opinion, the 2 things that was interesting about Picard that they never really truly fleshed out was him as a diplomat and him as the archaeologist. And I really felt they should have done that. They could have taken this. They could have gone the Spock Sarek route and become an ambassador and do the diplomat stuff. That would have been cool. Or they could have taken the Galen route and have him become an archaeologist. And to me, that could have been a good springboard to square the dichotomy for the character. Right? That's how I feel about the show in total. As a finale, it's for the nerds, it's for the fans. As I say, it is what it is. I kind of throw up my hands and people embrace it and they enjoy it for what it is, because I enjoyed it as well. And I'm not going to lie and say I didn't enjoy what I saw. To see, the Enterprise do a Death Star run effectively, that's kind of cool. And Data apparently finally reaches arc with having a gut feeling. Like, all right, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah, he's more human now that he's absorbed.
Right. Stuff like that. And it's straight up like, this is just fixing. We get Nemesis, and Nemesis was a terrible send-off to TNG. So this is the real send-off. This is a kind of last middle finger to shows like Nemesis, and we got proper send-off. And that's what it feel like. It gave them that. That's how I feel about it. I don't know what to rate it, because one part of me absolutely hate this nonsense, and I would have given it like a 1 out of 10. But the other part of me says, whatever. So I'll square that when we get to the ratings. And it'll probably be like a 7 out of 10. So halfway, right? That's how I feel about it. I can't in good conscience say I hate this. I dug it for what it was. It has some decent stuff in it. It has some decent promises for it. I really wish they could have done this better and think it out. But it is what it is, as I say. Moving on, Strange New Worlds coming in a few weeks.
Yes.
When Discovery has its final season, I will talk about something which I think is a deeper, for lack of a better term, rot in the Star Trek franchise. But this is not the show to talk about that with. Discovery is actually the show to talk about that with. Because Discovery had a chance to address that and it didn't. But we'll talk about that. We'll probably talk about those Strange New Worlds as well, maybe. But
Right.
as it is, they know what listen, Terry Metalis, I can't hate the man because clearly he's a fanboy, but it's too much of a fanboy. As I say, it really feel like Duncan Jones and Warcraft. That's what it was. That's what it feel like. Reddit writes Star Trek. But whatever. You go ahead, Tracy.
Yeah, Tracy.
So I'll start by saying this. I had something that I had scribbled down and it goes like this. In Star Wars, the whole point of Star Wars is that the Skywalkers are mucking up the galaxy. The father, the son, all of them mucking up the galaxy. In Star Trek, it's the Picards, because it is Locutus who goes, and I always remember that it is because of Locutus that Deep Space Nine's Cisco's wife got killed, and he was, and I always loved that they addressed that he didn't like Picard for that reason. And then of course his son comes into play, and spoilers, son does things with the Borg, and I was like, oh great, so they're mucking up the whole universe. The Picards are mucking up the universe where all the Skywalkers are. Because I remember when we sat down to talk about the first episode, I was not like, my gripe with it was that it was moving too slow. It felt like if it was moving way too slow. I mean, Picard is an old man, but he's not geriatric. So having him stretch these lines out and everything just moving like that was just annoying. However, I'm glad, I'm even thrilled to say that for the rest of the series, for me personally, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had fun with it. I'm glad that they stuck the landing where Jack is concerned, because I thought they were going to do this half-ass thing of, well, Jack is his son. Oh no, it's episode 7 and he's not his son, but he's actually just, I don't know, a changeling, and he was never his son to begin with. And now how do you deal with surrogacy as a dad figure?
Well, the thing is, they already did that in TNG. There's an episode like that with a guy who he thought he was his son. So I was like, I don't think they was going to do that. Well, so what it kind of hint at is that, well, he's really the Borg Queen's kid, kind of, right?
Yeah, she's his mother figure, That
well, get me the way out of frame, but as if no, she's really the mother and is really the Crusher's the surrogate, kind of, or like there's two mothers and one dad, or something like that. I don't know, whatever.
He has a kind of, for want of a better way of putting it, he has a kind of Superboy thing happening where he has both Lex and,
Right, yeah.
So that is Jack. I am fully on board if they ever decide. I think I said it on Twitter. If they ever decide to do a spin-off, I need that particular spin-off that happens at the end. I'm very much here for it. My thing with Picard season 3, really does feel like watching season. I can't remember. You had to tell me what season Next Generation ended at, but it was like the other season.
7.
All right, so this was season 8. We have a running joke right now in Star Wars Twitter where like Ahsoka is actually Star Wars Rebels season 5. So that is kind of where that's kind of where we live. There were certain things though in there that I need. Where is Agnes? What becomes of Agnes because of what has happened in season 2? Agnes is just gone. Rafaela's relationship with 7 of 9 was kind of okay. We had a whole season 2 of she's mentally and emotionally stunted and therefore can't get into. Okay, well then how do you deal with that? That's also gone. I was expecting Guinan to show up at the end because they reference him, but I guess that didn't play itself out. Nope. And then the last thing in terms of the humans, the people involved, Picard had a girlfriend. He had a Romulan girlfriend who
vanished.
Laris
vanished. Yeah.
Laris no longer exists. She just, God knows wherever she is. All right. I guess that's happening. I feel for me, outside of Patrick Stewart, for me, the real hero, so to speak, of this show was also Jerry Ryan.
She really stepped up here. Because here's the thing, I personally don't. I thought her becoming part of Starfleet is like the least interesting thing you could have done with her. Regardless how you feel about season 1 of Picard, what they did with her in that, I thought was much more interesting, to be honest. But whatever, everybody had to end up in Starfleet. Everybody had to do this. Right, because reasons. Another thing I hated is that they decided to rename the Titan the Enterprise. Like, really? They couldn't keep calling the Titan? Why? Why?
Because even he himself, slight spoiler, even he himself was like, oh, you're going to be on the Titan. It's like, no, we're not calling it the Titan, we're calling it this, and call it, Enterprise G. I really thoroughly enjoyed Picard season 3. I thought it was a really good send-off for the series. I thought it was fun. Every week I actually did look forward to sitting down and seeing it. But there were those little strands, and even in bringing in the characters, I know that. Okay, so like throughout the series or throughout season 3, William and Deanna's relationship, Riker's and Deanna's
I didn't hear that.
relationship, was a thing. But it somehow still felt like you're still on a surface level. Like, could you dig deeper somewhere, and that could have been something. I don't know. I wasn't too sure how I felt about that. I know Wesley ended up in season 2 being, a watcher basically, but I still was like, every time Beverly starts talking about, I need to protect my son, I was like, but there was Wesley. Because I can't remember a good deal of stuff that happened. I'm not gonna lie. I have a geek sister, Stacy, who lived on TNG, whereas I loved TNG, but there were bits and pieces of it that I still don't remember. But in terms of a series, in terms of even addressing little things for me that I find hilarious throughout the entire series, like addressing age. So Q takes on a more human form to reflect Picard, or even the idea of how Data and Lore and Soon, they all form into this aging body that is now allowed to, grow old and have feelings and cry over the cat.
Right.
These are things that I felt worked. Like I said, I'm glad in terms of like Jack actually turning out to be a crusher Picard. Parentage aside, I'm glad there was a certain Vulcan who showed up at the end, and I was like, yes, please. So we get a little flavor for Janeway, and I was like, I could, it's like that little.
No, but even the stuff with Data becoming, his new form, Data and Lore, that is straight up. Listen, that whole sequence with the inside the mine fighting over thing, that is straight up out of one of my own fan fictions. I mean, oh my god, dude, there's a problem, Judd. Look, all of it is there, but I really, really felt they could have just make something more interesting, Judd. I'm not sure, Judd. Whatever, go ahead.
I totally get that. I will be honest with you. Like, my thing here is, I have lived on Star Wars and I've lived on Star Trek, but I tend to stay more towards the wars. But I thoroughly, when I see something that aggravates me with Trek, I get completely aggravated. So I hear you in terms of how season 2 was, because going back and rewatching certain things in season 2, you'd be like, okay, no. But season 3 for me was like, this is a good way. This is a good way to.
It's an apology. It really feels like, an apology for Nemesis almost, like, because Nemesis was such rubbish, such absolute nonsense.
I don't absolutely hate Nemesis, but at the same point in time, I don't. It's not something that I'm going to. There was a time, I'll be honest. There was a time, like if I'm searching through TNT or something had Nemesis, I would sit down and say, oh, okay, I'll sit down and I'll watch it again. But it's not something that now I would be like, oh, I need to see this, for the 5th time or something.
Yeah, no.
But it's not completely hated. But even in this, I thought, Jack was going to. Like when we first met Jack, I thought, oh, Jack is basically going to be that character. He's going to be the new Praetor, kind of vibe, and they didn't play into that. And then the idea of the changeling, the politics and the social issue of the changeling and why they hate people, and even why she has the face of.
Here's the thing. I didn't listen again. I could go on forever about how you could have this thing, because I thought Vadic was great. I thought she was a great villain.
Yes.
It's Christopher Plummer's daughter, if I remember correctly, right?
I can't remember
Plummer, right? Yes, Amanda Plummer, right? She's great, and she hammered it up just like
Hunger Games. I think she was
right.
Yeah, Catch and Fire. She was one of the twins.
Right. She was just hamming up, being a great villain, and then they decided to just get rid of her. And it's like, all right, so who's she boss? What's going on? And then they just make it like, oh, the Ball Queen, or that is it? Really? Whatever. I listen. Don't hold on to it. Moving on. I get why they did it. Moving on. Whatever. I'll give them a rating, and then we could just get final points.
Yeah.
Rating. From a creative, what I wanted some stuff to be original and try to do something. I think it's like a 2 out of 10. This is, as a series, terrible, season terrible. All of it is like just nostalgia, slop nonsense, which I hate. But as a fan and getting it catering to the fans and so on, so I'll give it like a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10, right? As in, okay, this is for the fans, fine. So squaring that is what? 7 plus 2 divided by 2?
Dude, really?
Right, it's that, right? 4. I get like a 5 out of 10. A 4 out of 5 out of 10, right? It's
Right.
as well. That's how I feel about it, because I just really, really wished they did something original and they just sat down with this and make it. You could have look. I'm not asking them to call back around more, whatever it is, But dude, they could have. The writing's so much weaker than this shit, and it has so many dumb plot holes, and it's more nitpicky bullshit that I don't care about, because I thought they got some of the emotional beats right, but at the same time, oh god, they could have do so much more with this shit. They just went to the most ingratiating fanboy bullshit, which I hate when you do
A safe
that.
space. A safe space.
Complete safe space.
In essence.
Yeah, and look,
Which for me,
I'm a person who don't try to be truly original, because my attitude is you take what we know and you use it as a springboard.
right.
Just in the first episode of a thing, that's why I always give first episodes. You can do what you want in a first episode, but you have to bounce that off. The first episode was total nostalgia sludge, but they was building things to make it interesting. That's why I didn't
Right.
hate that. With this now, it's like, well, the whole thing is nostalgia crap. So it's like, well, you can't get me to care, because you have to bounce off what I know from the old show and then say,
Mhm.
okay, this is the impetus for this. DS9 did this all the time. DS9 took a thing that we learned from TNG and then built from it in a really smart and interesting and original way. That's what you had to do. You had to square it. Like, I don't believe that you could come up with something brand new, because, again, with a show like Discovery, I'm going to talk about Discovery when we talk about it next year or whenever. But Discovery, the problem with Discovery is that they just, like, it don't know how to square that. Like, you have to try to be truly original, but it don't feel like Star Trek. And look, I don't try to gatekeep that, but look, you had to kind of cater to one owner. Whatever.
Right.
I don't think I'm being a hypocrite by arguing for that, right? I think there's a third option. There's an in between. There's a hybrid.
Well, there should be. I mean, in all creative ventures, even over on our Star Wars side, there's certain things that be like, fix the suit.
Right.
Whatever. For me,
4 out of 10. Whatever. That's how I feel about it. Moving.
I'm giving it a 7.5. I'm giving it a 7.5 out of 10. I mean, I even liked the idea of having, this is how the Borg is going to evolve, and like there's certain realities. They're like, episode 1 is the first generation, the episode 10 is the last generation, and how that plays out. I particularly found it mildly hilarious for people like me who are over 30 something going on, well, in 40.
Right.
The idea of anybody who's over a certain age aren't affected by the scourge because you're just old.
That's a dumb nitpick thing there, because again, Star Trek like to base the ideas on some iffy science. So that whole brain over the age of 25 thing is like, whatever. That's kind of
a Mandela, set and. But 7.5 out of 10 for me.
Right.
This is something that I really and truly enjoyed season 3. I think it.
Right.
I think
last things last, and why do we probably lose up a couple of points? Is that they kill off the McGill Shelby though. Like, what the fuck? Like, you serious? Whatever. And then they kill off Shaw too. Like, hey, what the hell? So I thought I'd get Shaw for a new show.
Shaw started off as that guy. I
thought he was great. I love that character.
I understood his motivations. I really did. I still had that. And this comes back to what you're talking about in terms of nostalgia. It's like, don't you open your ass on Picard. He actually knows what he's doing. But I liked him being that foil.
Exactly.
So, coming on to the end when that thing happens and that thing like, okay, all right. I guess it was necessary. But if they do a spin-off, I would like to be a part of that particular ship at the end.
I listen. I thought that I don't mind, and mostly because the guy who plays Jack Crusher is great. Like, he being a star, and what they could do with that, especially the stuff with him, and even though they kind of rush this a little bit, meet cute with him and Jodie's daughter. Like, I don't hate this. That's not too bad. If he headlined in a show, I will watch that show. That sounds okay, in my humble opinion. Whatever.
Isn't he, just as a random, you guys, wasn't he also in You?
Yes, he is.
Disembodied body of, the conscience.
He is in You. Yeah.
10 points.
Right. Yeah, so that's it.